We're going to start with Bailey Smith tonight because there are growing frustrations over the lack of a progress on this deal. Now, we've known for how long? 12 months, maybe longer, that Bailey Smith from the Western Bulldogs was headed to the Cattery at the end of this season. But with the trade period less than 12 days away now, there has not been, and can you believe this, a single meaningful conversation on what a trade deal will actually look like to send Bailey Smith to the Cattery next season. We know the Cats want to play him in an inside midfield role, and I don't think this deal is going to be very straightforward, and we'll get to the nitty-gritty in a second. But on service level, the Dogs want the Cats' first-round pick, which is 16. That'll shuffle back to 20, but they want more than that. But the first-round pick will be the centrepiece on that deal, and I think there's going to be a fair bit of thrashing out. In fact, I don't think this is going to be done early in the trade period. It does feel like, Macca, there's some real tension around this deal and his departure from the kennel.
No doubt. There's no doubt about that. And the Bulldogs have made it clear to Bailey Smith that he is invited and welcome to attend their best and fairest next Wednesday night, the Charlie Sutton Medal.
Do you think he's going?
I think he's zero chance of going. So the invitation is out there. He hasn't responded to the invite yet. It is not expected there. The club did host, if you remember, Josh Dunkley when he won the best and fairest in 2022, and there was a little bit of angst there. He'd already decided he wanted to go to Brisbane, but they did host him at that best and fairest, which was awkward, but I think it was really well done. So, but I don't think you'll be seeing Bailey Smith there next Wednesday night.
He didn't help his cause, Jay. I think we all got the text message on Saturday night. There was a shot taken of... He does appear in social media a bit, and this was him with the Geelong faithful sitting there enjoying the game. Tom Hawkins was in the background, and on my text it said, so disrespectful. So I think that summed up how the Bulldogs thought about that. So then throw that in the mix about coming to the BNF. I'm with you.
Feels like he's got one leg inside that camp already. So it's time for the perfect delivery, thanks to KFC. What is a deal going to look like? As we said, the Cats' first-round pick is a minimum. That'll be 16 at the moment, slide back to 20. But what else? Now, I reckon the Cats will be reluctant to give another pick outright on its own. I don't think the Cats will want to give their first and second-round pick without getting something back. So there is potentially a complex pick swap going to take place here where the Dogs can improve their hand in the second round of the draft. So what about this? The Dogs get the Cats' first-round pick and their second-round pick, and then the Dogs give a third-round pick back. You have to let that sink in for a second.
I've got my pen and paper ready.
It's essentially giving the Dogs that extra pick in the second for a third-round pick. It improves the Dogs' pick in the second round, but then costs the Cats that pick. So the Cats still get a third-round pick back. These are the sort of complexities, and this is why I think it's going to take some time to thrash out, because I don't think for a bloke who's come off his ACL, yes, we know he's got game-breaking talent, that the Cats will be happy to give a first-round pick and a second-round pick on their own.
Well, that's the issue. I mean, what version are you discussing? The 221 version? You'd give him
it's a long time ago, 221.
You'd give him 2 first-round picks. But as we know, he fell out of favour, didn't play in the midfield, form was down, then did his knees. So Geelong can sit back and go, well, which version are we debating here?
Do you know what I love? These two clubs, are they stubborn in a trade sense, boys? What do you reckon?
I can tell you the list manager at the Dogs, Sammy Power, he is, and all the recruiting managers say this, they say he is one of the toughest nuts to crack. Now, when he says something, he genuinely stands by it. So I think Sammy Power is going to lay it down early in the trade period. We want more in that first-round pick, and I don't think there's going to be a flexibility. But on the other side of the fence is Andrew Mackie.
He's a smiling assassin. All right, he was one of the best sledges in the game.
He was good at it.
Yes. Sava Radaglia last year, if you remember, he was always going to Port. When do you reckon that deal got done? Right at the back, because Mac stayed true and they ended up getting overs.
And I think Ollie Henry went down to the final day as well. So Andrew Mackie, a good flight's a good flight.
Now, Mac, another Bulldog, Caleb Daniel.
Well, this is interesting, isn't it, with Caleb Daniel? He still yet hasn't called for, to be traded to somewhere else. Now, we're expecting that can happen in the coming weeks. We've got a little bit of time there. Well, there's a couple of clubs. Melbourne would be potentially one. Maybe North Melbourne. North Melbourne's prepared to... They really want some senior experience. We know with Jack Darling coming in, they've got some others. Luke Parker, they're trying to organise as well. So that's an option there. Fascinating to watch, though, will be that Jack McRae has obviously requested St Kilda. If that goes through, Caleb Daniel is contracted, so it's no guarantee and no certainty that the Dogs would let him go without getting something really good in return.
It'd be hard yards if he goes to North the next couple of years. I feel like he'd want to go to a contender, but maybe we'll see. Back to the trade department. Tim Embry's future. He's still hanging in limbo, but you can tell us a new suitor has emerged for the Saints forward.
Yeah, his management has spoken with Essendon. The Jake Stringer situation is still, obviously, we're all monitoring that. They see if Stringer's out, like we think potentially, Tim Memory comes in perfect. Nate Caddy, the kid, is going to be a gun, needs help still. Peter Wright's form was an issue. So an experienced guy, he's 30, kicked 30 goals this year. We know he can play that role, and he's a ripping fella. So they're really pushing. If you lose Stringer, we have the perfect replacement.
Ready to go. I wondered whether Melbourne might be a chance for Timmy Membry. I get the feeling that Essendon are happy to do a trade for Jake Stringer, but the interest just isn't there, it seems. Collingwood coach Greg McRae has put a line through the pies, said Collingwood won't be taking Stringer. They did have a level of interest, but won't be going there anymore. So that will be interesting to see how the future of Timmy Membry, the Saints goal kicker, plays out. What about Matt Owies? This is fascinating at Carlton because it really felt like he earned his spot and was dangerous inside the forward 50, but is looking at new homes. Where does this sit with Matt Owies, Scotty?
It's funny, at the Brownlow medal, I keep getting bailed up by Carlton supporters go, what's this kid done? So you dig deep. He hasn't done anything. Not a lot wrong. Really. He hands out the cultural award every week. He's much loved. He's had to cancel a trip to Bali with his teammates because his future, he's got to sort it out. He's met with some clubs, West Coast, Gold Coast. Not that it's gone anywhere yet, but he's had to go out there. The problem is this is basically mismanagement by the Blues. They've done their numbers and they've gone, we've got too many smalls already under contract. He's the one coming out, even though he's the best.
So who's ahead of Matt Owies? Well, if you know, who's got a home there or a contract for next year?
Well, I'll give you some names. Jesse Motlop, Lockie Fogarty, Orazio Fantasia and Craig Durden. I mean, they're all smalls.
Yeah.
Who are you going to play first?
I would have
taken Matt Owies.
Matt Owies, to me, looked like Carlton's most dangerous small forward.
If you look at those guys, he is in that sense.
33 goals
young,
this year.
So...
You think if West Coast can get their hands on someone like Matt Owies...
He'll find a home. But
absolutely.
I don't think Carlton fans would be rapt seeing Matt Owies out the door, potentially losing Matt Kennedy. I know they're trying to get in Dan Houston and do a deal there, but it is interesting.
The problem with their list is the two Camporellis, Nick Haynes, potentially Houston. So the numbers are getting tight, and that's where poor old Matt Owies is left hanging.
They do need some money saved over in the salary cap for a man you're about to mention, Macca.
This is where the tightness comes in for sure. They've got some real issues they've got to deal with in terms of 2025 and getting some players signed. And I can tell you that the Blues are edging closer to completing the first domino, and that would be Jacob Wiedering. He's going to sign a new deal soon. It's very close. There's a few little things holding it up, but it'll get done. We know that it'll get done. 2031, so it's going to be a 6-yearer in that sense. So it's a really long-term deal. But here are the other names they've got to organise, and that's why they're getting in early. Tom De Koning, got to work out what's going on there. He's surely got to stay. Adam Sard and Adam Cherrer as well. They are the guys that are coming out in 2025. So they've got a bit of work to do, but they're at least well advanced on Wiedering, which they should be because, you know, he's a future captain of the club.
West Coast paid Jeremy McGovern $1.2 million a year, so it'd be interesting to see whether Carlton fork out. It's going to be a 7-figure salary for Jacob Wiedering.
I hope there's no bonuses for Brownlow votes. That's the only
What about out there at Waverley, Macca? There's a few Hawks who are stuck in limbo also.
Talking about competition for spots, this is another one when you look at Hawthorn as well. They've got so many competitions for spots. Finn McGuinness is an interesting one as well. He's a watch this space. There's been a bit of interest for him. He played 10 games this year in the VFL with Box Hill. Couldn't quite get into that spot. Was good in the finals, but there's a couple of clubs, you know, like Essendon and Sydney that are interested in potentially attracting someone like Finn McGuinness. Hard runner, and that's exactly what Essendon need in that sense. So he's a potential there. He's weighing up. He's contracted though, as is Ned Reeves. Ned Reeves lost his spot to Lloyd Meek earlier this year, which was a concern. He played most of the year with Box Hill. He's contracted for another 2 more years, so everyone's looking for a ruckman. So there's an area there, and just Jai Sarong's an interesting one as well. You've got Tom Barrass coming in. Jai Sarong comes in for that final with Sam Frost injured, and I think Sam Frost will end up staying. There was interest from Sydney as well. Jai Sarong is going to have to look around. He's contracted for another year as well. So competition for spots is good, but it just puts a bit of pressure back on, doesn't it?
Good young kid.
Watch this space.
Oh, he has to look elsewhere. I mean, it's great recruiting to bring those two kids in,
but you're behind the 8 ball.